And we are back. Thank you so much for staying with us. And in case you're just joining us, welcome to Kenya's Gold, where the focus on the show today is on banana farming in Kenya. Now, so far, we have learned the importance of bananas when it comes to supporting livelihoods and also its contribution to food security. However, there are challenges in there that limit our farmers from reaping the full benefits of this agri-sector. And we do want to have a conversation on what these challenges are and what are the solutions that we can offer our farmers. Now, to shed more light on that, we do have the honor of being joined by Francis Kimani, who is from AgriHub Orchard. Thank you so very much for making time to be with us today.
Asante.
Karibu sana tena, Kenya's Gold. All right, now when we start with, from the different visits, tumetembelea wakulima wengi from different parts of the country who are doing banana farming, lakini wengi wao utapata either they have 3 trees, 5 trees, 10 trees. It's so rare upate mtu na ekari zake 2, 3, 4 fully growing bananas. Why is that the case, and can we do better when it comes to commercializing banana farming in Kenya?
Asante. Most of the farmers in around the country have been doing so good in the banana industry. Lakini kwa muda ambao umepita tumepata kuwa magonjwa imezidia wagonjwa wengi, na haswa soko yenyewe brokers wameingililia, so most of the farmers cannot access the right market. So you find that farmers feel like they will not expand their acreages. Wanataka kupanda kidogo kidogo for consumption. But if you go back to earlier days, farmers used to do big orchards, and they used to reap a lot from it. But now that there have been a lot of diseases and over-reliance on one variety or few varieties, that has made the an uproar of so many diseases. And again, farmers have felt like they want to narrow down to other things rather than bananas.
So we do have instances where a particular farmer had a very big piece of land with bananas, but they have replaced those trees with something totally different.
Very well.
All right. So let's talk about now these challenges that you have brought up. And we have diseases, which is leading to a lot of farmers, neglecting this agri-sector. What are these very common diseases that our farmers are facing in their farms?
There are not as many diseases, but the commonly known diseases are like Panama disease, which is also called Fusarium wilt, whereby the tree will just, matawi yake itaanza kunyauka pole pole, from the older leaves to the new leaves, and then you have the heart leaf now just wilting down, and it looks like a skirt. You will find the pseudostem studding, but it will have fallen leaves, and they'll all dry up. And that is a common disease in most of the varieties. But again, we have disease-resistant varieties like Giant Cavendish and like Fia hybrids.
Right.
But another disease is also called cigarette head rot or cigar head rot, whereby you find a banana that has a black heading. Kwa ile dizi pale juu unapata kama imechomeka kama sigara. And that unapata magonjwa hiyo inaletwa na sababu ya uchafu katika shamba. Farmers cannot control, maybe they don't prune it very well. They don't control the overshoots. A lot of leaves, a lot of the place is just dirty.
Right.
Another disease is also called we have the bacterial wilt of banana, and they vary from one variety to the other.
Right.
So farmers, there are not as many diseases, but if farmers can observe what we call hygiene in the farm,
right,
and do what they do, have clean materials from renowned sources that are certified, that one can solve a lot of problems.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have different varieties of bananas that are grown in Kenya, and I'd like for you to expound intensively on, out of these different varieties, which ones are more pest and disease resistant, and also what informs the farmer when they're picking a particular variety to grow in their farm?
Niseme kwamba tuko na aina nyingi sana za mandizi. And depending on where somebody or the farmer comes from, he can decide or she can decide on which variety to take. Maybe, for example, some bananas, as you heard from that farmer from Meru, some do very well in dry areas, and they will not require additional water or irrigation later on. And some will not do well in places where there is a lack of water. So a farmer has his own taste and preferences pertaining in a kind of a banana that he would react to. So you realize that farmers will go for color, some will go for a history or an experience for taste. So you can't tell a farmer to do something and maybe he has not interacted with it so well.
Right.
But lately we have the current researches and the different varieties that are being brought forward by Carlo and such sources. And they are quite clean materials, free from pests, and some are even resistant and tolerant to some of these diseases.
Right.
So if farmers are well informed on various varieties and capabilities of performance from those, then farmers can be very advised to go for one.
Right. So if we're talking about dealing with the challenge of pests and most of the diseases, is tissue culture a route that we now need to be sensitizing our farmers to go for?
Yes. Lately, farmers have been borrowing suckers from their neighbors. You find a farmer will tell you that I have seen this banana in Kisii and I want to carry one of the suckers to Muranga or Bomet. And farmers will carry along with all the diseases and the pest along with him or her. So we are just trying to tell farmers that it is not prohibited to borrow from a farmer, but it's also good to go for the certified and true and tested varieties from the tissue culture centers that are there. And still maintaining on that is that we don't want to lose the biodiversity, as the researcher has said. We should still maintain those early varieties because they have still their own advantages as we go on forward for tissue culture.
Right.
In tissue culture, we don't say that they're not affected. They can also get affected because some farmers don't adhere to the rules of the ground. Some will just incorporate them together with the diseased ones, and they lose maybe the tolerance, and they just get the diseases again.
Right.
Yeah.
So we cannot, of course, do away with propagation through the traditional ways, the cuttings, the suckers, but it's very important for farmers to have clean planting material at all times. So for that farmer who's not going to go the direction of the tissue culture, as they get their suckers, as they get the planting materials, even from their neighbors, what do they need to do to ensure that this, particular sucker that I'm going to take to my farm is clean and is fit for my farm?
Very well. Farmers are not, they don't, hawezi nyima mwenzake. And of course, they'll say that hii begu hatunyimanangi, tutaisambaza tu. So what we call for farmers is that when you go to borrow from the neighbor, you should always observe the best yielding banana. Just by the look of it. Just look at it. Is it free from diseases? Is it free from pests? And then when you get that sucker, make sure that if you don't go the lab way, you just boil some water. Water that is boiling, maji kama inachemka. Uchukue ile saka umepewa na mkulima, utoe ile matawi ya huku chini yote, then like 1 centimeter utoe hiyo nyama yote hapa chini yote, ikuwe whitish, like ikuwe white. Ukikata hii chini yake itakuwa kama unatoa ngozi ya juu, like a 1 inch, and then you can boil it for a minute. You put it in the boiling water for a minute, it will kill most of the germs from it. That one will have a cleaner variety to plant. Yeah.
Is that something that farmers are doing, considering a lot of them are actually growing these bananas through the suckers and cuttings?
Most of them don't do that because they always wait for the right time to plant, and then they don't consider diseases. They will say that if this fails, I'll plant another one.
Is it an awareness issue, or is it we're just ignoring? We know, but what to do?
Not really. They don't know. I think they are losing, the extension that are getting is not clear to them.
Right.
So they don't know how to select, positively selecting the healthy ones from the others.
Right.
I think farmers are lacking that from extension services.
And because they're lacking that, I want to give you that opportunity right here, right now, kwa sababu kuna mkulima ambaye anatazama saizi na kuna mipango of expanding their farm, and they need to make sure that they're growing the right suckers. Before we get to a point where our farmers are all embracing tissue culture, please give them the steps vizuri tu on what they need to do so that we make sure the next planting season, all the farmers who are watching Kenya's Gold right now are doing the correct thing.
Asante. So always prepare the holes before the rains come. Ni vizuri utayarishe shamba yako kabla mvua ifike. Uchimbe shimo yako vizuri pale, either 3 by 2 kulingana na shamba yako vile iko. Kisha chimba shimo yako vizuri, leave it for the sun to scorch it. Ishachomeka vizuri, kuna zile vitu zitakufa zenye zina cause magonjwa sana. Then enda kwa mbegu yako ama kwa mother plant yenye unataka kutoa mbegu kutoka kwake. Hakikisha ni safi. Hakikisha haina magonjwa. Toa zile branch, zile matawi zenye unaona ziko excess. Jaribu kutoa zote ukiangalia kama iko na magonjwa, and make sure that you clean it. Ikuwe tu safi tu. Don't worry about the so many leaves. Just remove, strip it, and make sure that it doesn't have a lot of leaves in it. Then, as I had said, that you clean the lower side of the stool with a sharp knife. Of course, you can put a disinfected knife, maybe in the jig or something else, so that you don't again infect it with the knife itself. Then peel it roundish, 1 centimeter inside until it is whitish. And then you have some boiling water, and because you don't have maybe a thermometer to dip it for quite some time, just put it in hot water. Right. Like for 1 minute in boiling water. Right. Don't boil it for so long because it might kill it again. And then you can have a good sucker for planting. Again, when you have those suckers, don't leave them overnight in the fields, because some weevils will come and lay some eggs on them, so that when you are transferring them, so make sure that you secure them in a place that is it is safe for them, maybe in a store or somewhere that cannot be infected with by weevils. So if I prepare my sucker, I have identified a clean, disease-free, a robust sucker. How soon should I plant it? Immediately after cleaning it. In case nisifanye immediately, grace period ni how long? Is there a grace period? As a matter of we start from there. No, there's no that grace period, because okay, if you leave it in a well-closed place where farmers, maybe they don't have that place, they'll keep it in a granary or somewhere in a sack. So we tell them that as you do it during the day, you can prepare them that you are doing that day. If you are doing 100, you can just prepare the 100 and do them that day. How sustainable is this cuttings method? Because I'm imagining if I want to grow bananas on maybe 10 acres and above, sinitatafuta acres suckers mpaka nikate kwa jirani. Is it really sustainable for those who want to get into this on a large scale basis? It is not an easy task. But because bananas are, I will not say that are perennial, but they do stay in the farm for quite some time. But I would say that it is an investment. So farmers should not just wish away that I'll not do that because my farm is too. But the other way is to go the tissue culture way. Just go to a certified propagator, and KEPHIS does that for you. So don't worry about anything else. KEPHIS will make sure that the material that you're getting from the certified nursery, it is well certified, and you'll find no diseases from there. And they don't range, they don't cost that much. Between 100 and maybe 150 per seedling. Right. So you can get that one from there. Are they better yielding if you compare it to someone who's going to propagate through cuttings? I will not say they are better yielding. As I said, that they differ in terms of performance. It's relative. Performance is relative. But I would say that your mind is free. That I don't have any diseases. My materials are clean, and you are assured of the research. It is said that if you plant FIA 100 banana, it will yield this much. Right. But maybe from from the sucker, you might not tell exactly. Maybe that one is done just to maintain the biodiversity and the genetic part of it. Right. Thank you so very much for that explanation, Mr. Francis. And when you look at the value chain for bananas, we do have exporters. Later on in the show, I'd like for you to shed more light on where we do export our bananas to, and also are we meeting the local demand that we need in the country? Those answers will be coming to you later. But before we get into that, let us have that conversation that we always do have with our farmers, because we're very keen on making sure that our farmers are growing. Come on, banana farmer, like you can see in our stories today, and you want to grow, some of the solutions that we are giving you include make sure that you are part of a cooperative society. Join hands with other farmers, because when you are in a cooperative society, you do stand a higher chance of getting financial support from various financial institutions like the cooperative bank. You also get proper agronomy services, your guaranteed market at the end of the season, and also you get quality farm
input. Now, at this particular point, a lot of farmers are getting ready for planting season. And one of the things that is common right now is wakulima wanatafuta mbegu, wanatafuta mbolea, you're booking and you're making the payments, and probably pesa imeshindikana mahali. You know, sometimes the finances cannot be as good as you want them to be, but we do not want you to worry. We want to give you solutions on what you need to do so that during this planting season, as you get ready for it, you have a smooth transition. Make sure that you're partnering with Cooperative Bank, who offer various credit solutions that can support you during this planting season. Some of those credit solutions include a working capital loan, which is offered to either an individual farmer or a farmer in a cooperative society for the purposes of buying quality farm inputs. And finally, kwa ule mwanabiashara, you do have a shop where you sell various agrochemicals to farmers and various farm inputs. Na pengine huja stock duka yako. You don't want farmers to come there, wanataka kununua mbolea na hauna. What you can do is get a loan that we do call stock financing from Cooperative Bank. You can stock your shop, wakulima wanakuja wananunua, and once they pay, you can repay back your loan. And remember, you can take this loan as many times as you want to. So be sure to partner with Cooperative Bank, who have been very keen over the years to support small-scale farmers, large-scale farmers, and farmers in cooperative societies. Now, we do want to take our next break right now, but when we come back, we dive into market opportunities. We're back. Thank you so much for staying with us. We do want to continue with our conversation with Mr. Francis, and we were talking about exporting. Who are our international markets, and as of now, what quantities are we exporting?
We are exporting mostly to Europe, and we're not doing so well in terms of export of bananas because we are around 0.002. That's too little.
Annually?
Annually. And we are exporting maybe a few varieties. Singularly, we are doing a lot of plantain.
Right.
Because farmers, as I had said, that they are over-relying on maybe one variety, which is very susceptible to diseases.
Right.
So it's not meeting the standards.
Right.
So not meeting the standards of Europe makes it very hard for us to export there.
Right.
But the bananas are not yet still in big quantities, as you had said. Yeah.
And that is part of what we addressed in the first part of our conversation. Most of our farmers wako na miti kidogo tu ya bananas, so exporting becomes a big challenge. Now, if Europe is one of our main export sources, they are very strict. Europe is all about organic farming, and anything that does not meet those standards is rejected. Is that the way to go here? Are our farmers embracing organic farming when it comes to banana farming?
Organic farming is quite expensive, and here we are in the equator, whereby we have so many pests and diseases that comes across just by the fact that we are around the equator. So you find that sometimes farmer will employ the organic method, and maybe an infestation just occur, or a pandemic just comes, like the way we have the fall armyworms in maize, and farmers will be left with no other alternative than to spray maybe the pesticides.
Right.
But if farmers can observe the correct post-harvest intervals, then we are good to go.
Right.
So it is not very much sustainable to say that I'll be doing organic farming unless maybe we're doing them in a greenhouse.
Right.
There can be epidemics, and they do occur.
Right.
Yes.
Do we have any farmers growing bananas in greenhouses?
Not here in Kenya, but for those who does them, they do just for the certified nurseries.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. So in 30 seconds, a parting shot, as also you give us a way forward on how we can leverage the government, private stakeholders into, improving the banana sectors for the many smallholder farmers who are benefiting from this sector.
Now, I would say that farmers who can join together to form cooperatives, they can have a bigger bargaining power when it comes to sales. Again, the government is doing something on subsidy on fertilizers, and they're doing something on roads. If they can improve on those infrastructures, and also post-handling activities like cold rooms and the rest, and farmers can observe hygiene in their farms, then we are good to go.
Right.
Yeah.
I think for me, I'd like to see a day where, you see the way we talk a lot about flower farmers, coffee farmers, tea farmers, tujikute pia tunazungumzia sana wakulima wa bananas. Tusiwache tu kwa sababu, most of the time banana is grown for subsistence, but it does have the potential of being big and doing big as well. But thank you so very much, Mr. Francis, for being very generous with your time and knowledge as well. Lakini sitakuacha hivyo, lazima unipatie answer Violeta ya Farm Joke. Ushakuwa hapa before, so you know how we do. And the question you're asking you today, umeongelelea sana bananas. So niambie kwa nini these bananas are never lonely?
Akona watoto wake tu hapo wanamea tu.
Watoto wa gani jamani?
Hao wadogo tu wanamea hapo.
And the answer is, ukinunua bananas unanunua in bunches.
Oh yes.
So they come in bunches.
Oh no.
So they're never lonely.
Okay.
Sawa.
Okay, I agree.
And with that, we have come to the end of the show. Thank you so very much for journeying with us from the beginning to the end. A very big thanks to our farmer in Meru for making this episode a success. Of course, the team that is working on this production, we say a very big thanks. And we'll see you again tomorrow. And you definitely do not want to miss out on tomorrow's show, because we will be furthering our conversation that we started last week on vaccination on animals. We'll still be joined by the Managing Director of KEVIVAPI, and also we will have a member from the Kenya Veterinary Association. Please start sending in your questions. We'll tackle them tomorrow. Until then, do have yourselves a fantastic evening. My name is Violeta Ngina. Goodbye.